Hey, and thanks for tuning in to this month's edition of the Impact Disciple Making Podcast. I'm Mike Keaton, your host, and I am with Ken Adams, our lead pastor of Crossroads Church in Newnan, Georgia, as well as the founder of Impact Discipleship Ministries. And so we've been having conversations about disciple making, and we're going to start a new conversation today on defining a disciple. There's lots of resources and lots of conversation out there about this topic. What is a disciple? People ask this question. And so, Ken, I've heard you say that a disciple, as one part of that definition, is a member. Mm-hmm. So what do you mean by member? A disciple is a member.
You know, Mike, the reason we're doing this series is because even out of my own personal experience, I have had people ask me the question, what does a disciple look like? Well, the funny thing is that I'm not the one that answers that question. Jesus would be the one who has answered that question because Jesus is the model for what it means to be a disciple. And so the traits that we see in Jesus should also be the traits that we see in those that he discipled. And that should also be the traits that we see in the disciples of the disciples. So if we're really trying to define what a disciple looks like, it's going to be because we see common traits that are true for multiple generations of disciples. Well, one of those traits that's very clear is what we would call the trait of membership. And what we mean by that is it means that a person belongs and believes in the mission and the movement of Jesus Christ. You know, it's pretty clear that when Jesus asked his original disciples to follow him, man, he was asking them to make a commitment. He might not have called it membership per se, but it was a sense of belonging together. It was a sense of believing together. A disciple of Jesus was somebody who was bought in and a person who was committed to his mission and to his movement. Now, that was true about Jesus' disciples, and it's pretty clear that that was also true about their disciples, because the earliest account that we have of the church in Acts chapter 2, verse 42 says this. It says, and they were devoted to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship and the breaking of bread and prayers. So the very use of the word devoted indicates that it wasn't just a casual thing. It was a serious commitment that they were making. So I think it's really safe to say that a disciple is somebody who is a member, who belongs, and who is committed.
So you have been, you've taught this in a series at our church, and we want to share a clip from that series with you right now, and then we'll come back up with some wrap-up and some follow-up comments.
I do believe with all my heart that if you really are a disciple of Jesus Christ, I mean, if you're going to call yourself a disciple, a student, a learner, if you're going to call yourself a follower of Jesus Christ, and here's what I can tell you will happen, is that you won't have to, but you will want your life to be marked by membership. You will want your life to be marked by commitment. You will want your life to be marked by being a part of the cause and the community of Christ's followers. You really will. In fact, let me just say it like this, because this is really true, is that when you come to this point in your life, and I hope it's already happened for you, but if it hasn't happened for you, I hope that it will, is that when you come to the point in your life when Christ becomes your Father, when God becomes your Father, you will automatically want to be a part of His family. In fact, the truth is this, is that if you call God your Father, but you don't want to be a part of His family, then bottom line is, guys, there is something really wrong with that picture. There really is. Because when you fall in love with God, you're going to want to be committed to God's people. It just makes sense. And when that doesn't happen, the truth is that there's something really wrong with that picture. And maybe it's just because you've been looking at it in a really, really wrong way. Well, today, the reason we're talking about this is because today we're in a series. We just started it. We're going to spend several weeks on it. And the series is called Disciple. And if you notice, there's a question mark here. And here's why. Because what we're doing is that we're asking this question, what does a disciple look like? What did a disciple, let's go all the way back to the time of Jesus. What did Jesus look like? What did his disciples look like? What did their disciples look like? And what we're going to see over the next several weeks is that this is not something that is a mystery that we have to figure out. If you just open up God's Word, you will see that there are some traits that were true about Jesus. They were true about his followers. They were true about their followers. They were true about their followers. And 2,000 years later, they ought to be true about all of us in this room. So today, we're going to look at one of these traits that, listen to this, gang, has been true about disciples of Jesus Christ for 2,000 years. And that is simply this: they belong. Disciples belong to the mission and movement of Jesus Christ. You know, I know some people, they just get all hung up on certain words. And if I say be a member, they just get all hung up on that and they can't get past that. So just get rid of the word and just realize this, is that what Christ wants for you is that he wants you to belong to the mission that he started 2,000 years ago. He wants you to be a part of the movement that is carried on for the last 2,000 years. And if you call him your Father, you're going to want to be a part of that movement and that mission.
Well, Mike, as we've seen from this little clip, one of the things that we would say about being a member of Christ's mission and his movement, first of all, is that those believers, those early disciples, is that they all shared a common set of beliefs. You see, what we believe does matter, and what we believe is important. In fact, those early disciples, then they were willing to lay down their lives for what they believed. One of the first deacons in the church, Stephen, was literally stoned to death because of his beliefs. So beliefs, doctrine, faith, those things, they really do matter. And so when we say that a disciple is a member, what that means is that disciples of Jesus Christ share a common set of beliefs about Jesus and about what we believe as Christians. Mm-hmm. The second thing that we would say that it means to be a member is that not only did they share a common set of beliefs, but it also means that they belong together. One of the ways we like to say it is that they were sharing life together. They were doing life together. Mm-hmm. And so when it says that they were committed to the apostles' teaching, they were also committed to the fellowship. They were committed to the breaking of bread. They were committed to praying for each other. Mike, those are all the things that they did as a community. So they believed and they belonged to his mission, but they were also a part of his movement, and they belonged to the church. And so, you know, that was true 2,000 years ago. That should still be true today, is that if you consider yourself to be a disciple of Jesus Christ, that means that you will be a committed member of a local body of believers where you share a common faith and where you share community with one another, where you share life together. And that's the way God created his church to be. God created his church to be a place where disciples could grow in their faith, but they also could grow in community with one another.
Mm-hmm. And so in those two things, believing and belonging together, they don't always happen in that order either, do they?
That's right.
Right. And so we continue to discover and try to define what is a disciple. What does it look like? And so that's going to be the focus of these next several episodes. We hope to see you then. Thanks for tuning in today.